pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Youre, I'd like to request the board amend the agenda to add a presentation from ECEA President Eric Longuski per the master agreement prior to the superintendent's report.
So moved.
Support. Comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried. Second item on our agenda is items of interest, recognition, and inquiry. Board of Education members, anybody have anything? Mr. Richley.
I have a question about the update. The first item under it would be the curriculum / instruction transition. I'm curious about, it says on one of the last paragraphs here, it says this leaves Scott's position, as in Mr. Westerhoff, for St. Clair Middle School, which will be transitioned to a Dean of Student position that will be posted. Is that, am I to understand that's going to be a Dean of Student position at St. Clair Middle School?
Correct.
Okay, and that's just to assume the same responsibilities that...
Very similar responsibilities.
Okay, and that they're going to be solely in St. Clair?
Correct.
In that, so my final question is, it says finally, this reorganization will result in a savings of $20,000 moving forward, as in, which I didn't explain the whole thing to everybody that hasn't seen it, but.
The combination of moves that include the transition of Catherine Woolman to a position of Executive Director for Curriculum Instruction, as Mrs. Tenniswood takes a new position at the RISA. In addition to Mr. Domagowski at Palms, assisting Mrs. Woolman in elementary curriculum and instruction and professional development, and Mr. Westerhoff moving over to Marine City Middle School. All those moves in their entirety will save the district in excess of $20,000 from the general fund.
So that doesn't include the additional Dean of Student position?
All those moves in their entirety will save the district $20,000. That includes, of course, the posting and backfilling of Mr. Westerhoff's position.
Okay.
Mrs. Frank.
I just wanted to make a mention that this Friday, March 27th, I think about 8:15 a.m., approximately 50 St. Clair High and Marine City High School students will be competing in the second annual business competition right here at Central Office. The events will include entrepreneurship, presentation management, and interview skills. It's a great opportunity for the students to showcase real-world business skills. I attended this last year, and it was really a neat function. So I just encourage everybody to try to participate if you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Skolka.
Several things, President Youre, thank you. First, we want to recognize the donation of our community's time, talent, and treasure. Over 1,900 volunteer hours have been spent between Gearing and Pine River Elementary Schools by senior citizens through the Foster Grandparent Program this year. We greatly appreciate the time these individuals spend helping and mentoring our students. We also want to recognize and thank Ms. Robin Limburg Child for her donation towards the purchase of choir shirts at St. Clair Middle School. And this past weekend, Saturday, we had district teams compete at the Macomb Regional Science Olympiad competition. Though I don't have all the individual details and results, Marine City High School, under their teacher advisor Paul Dimmer, took 5th place and qualified for the state competition. They also won the Spirit Award. Both middle schools and both high schools had students who medaled in individual events, and we will get you those individual results when we become aware of, we have the full and complete list. So, lastly, World Autism Day is coming up, and we have a special presentation a little later in our agenda.
Great. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is item number 3, Academic Spotlight, Pine River Elementary. Ms. Joyce Lammer.
Good evening, Dr. Skalka, Mr. Youre, and members of the board. Pine River is honored to be here tonight to share with you a positive reading program that is happening at Pine River for our students, our staff, our parents, and very often, grandparents. With me tonight is our media specialist and our 3rd grade social studies teacher, Mrs. Kathleen Dieman. So let me begin. It was a hot summer day in June of 2013. There were 14 heads together, huddled knee to knee, eye to eye, over a school improvement plan. We were meeting to go over our school improvement plan to determine strategies and activities to fulfill the goal, because one of our goals was to improve reading comprehension in students in all areas. We knew that we needed to improve comprehension. We knew that we needed to improve and increase reading time for students. We wanted to involve parents in literacy. We wanted to increase parent education. And of course, we always have a focus on our school culture, improving and increasing that. So at that time, one of our team members mentioned to us they had heard about a program and knew that it had taken place in other schools, something called One School, One Book. So Mrs. Kathleen Dieman, being our media specialist, investigated the program for us.
So we made a call and asked a little bit about the program. It's designed for shared reading and an experience within the whole school community. One chapter book is chosen, and every family receives a copy of that book. And then every family would read a chapter or 2 each evening over the course of a single month. Activities were coordinated throughout the school, and for our school it was throughout the year to enrich reading. All schools in the East China School District, all elementary schools, have participated in this program at one time.
So we discovered that the program was really a national program, was implemented in many schools and in many districts. We also discovered that there was a $500 donation. So we decided, after talking it over, that the donation was good for a lifetime. It allowed us to participate in the program, have access to all the questions, to get some good prices on books. So we decided to use some grant funds that we had, and we paid the $500. We decided to implement the program. We found that there needed to be one book for each family. So we needed about 380 books. That was in addition to the $500 that we had already spent. So we decided to ask our PTO to support us, at which time they did, and we purchased the books the first year from the One School, One Book, Read to Them program. We decided that the incentives, the rewards, the awards, and any prizes that we had for the program that we would use from some little fundraising accounts that we had. So the first year, this was last year, 2013-14, as a staff, we decided to choose the book Charlotte's Web.
Charlotte's Web is a classic. It's known by many. And it's just a heartwarming story that's good from kindergarten through 5th grade and actually many other grades. Everyone seems to enjoy Charlotte's Web.
So we knew it had some wonderful themes. It had friendship, making connections, getting caught, helping each other, learning new vocabulary, individuality, the farm, and in celebration. So we knew those themes fit exactly what Pine River was looking for. The second year, which is this year, The staff again came together, discussed, and chose the book because of Winn-Dixie.
The staff chose the book because of Winn-Dixie, because it's a Newbery honor book. It has many great lessons, and it's just a wonderful story.
We knew that it might be over the heads of our younger students, our kindergartner and our first graders, and maybe some of our preschoolers that were listening, but we really counted on our parents to drive home the message, and they didn't disappoint us. They were able to deliver the message of the book in a beautiful way to their children. So again, it connected with those very things that we are looking for at Pine River: friendship, connections, family, love, courage, acceptance, compassion, understanding, self and others. All those themes that are so crucial for life and positive school culture. So we made the decision as a staff to weave the themes throughout the school year and to weave the themes throughout the school building. So as you can see, there are many different ways that we showed the theme to the two different books. You see the two books are combined together in this one slide. It was evidence on major bulletin boards. It was in the showcase. It was a part of the Halloween parade when the staff dressed first as farmers and then this year as dogs, all to drive home the theme of the book for our students. It was just fun. It was in the media center. If you see the big read, that was the pet store because of Winn-Dixie. In written documents, our Pine Bough, if you look at that, and in the staff weekly bulletin, you will see that theme and these characters showing through. In classroom activities, in the classroom, displayed on walls. These are all the things we kept the whole theme going. We kept the books alive for our children. So we knew we had to introduce the program to our parents. So how are we going to do that? Pine River has a weekly newsletter. We decided to use that as the vehicle to let our parents know that this book was coming. But we knew that we needed to do more than that. We also knew that we needed to introduce this book to students. We need to catch our students first so that they took home the interest and enthusiasm to their parents.
So at one of the assemblies, our kickoff assembly, we introduced the website, Kate DiCamillo's website. We also did Mrs. Lammer and I did an interview. We recreated an interview by Kate DiCamillo and kind of connected the students, with the author and tried to get them more interested in who she was and why she did what she did, and also with the book. As you can see, because Winn-Dixie has been made into a movie as well as Charlotte's Web, in order to help connect those students who maybe when they read they don't always see the character image in their mind, we showed just a little snippet of because of Winn-Dixie, to get them interested in it, and then maybe when they were reading the story, they would have that image in their mind of those characters.
The next big question: how do we get the book out to each family? And how do we give them their instructions? And how do we keep the enthusiasm going? So we decided to do a book packet.
So we had some volunteers as well as staff put the packets together. Each family received one. They received their own copy of the book that they would keep in their library forever. They received a bookmark to keep their place, so they knew where they were each night. They received a letter from Mrs. Lammer stating how the program worked and what we were going to do with it. And on the back of that letter, they received a calendar that showed what chapters we would be reading each night and when we would have other activities.
So many parents kept this right on the refrigerator so they knew exactly what chapters they were to read that night. And we know that parents are super busy these days. So sometimes parents would read, 2 or 3 chapters in one night if they were not able to catch up. But we found that our parents and our students kept up really beautifully to this schedule. So during the morning announcements, students would be reminded, of course, of the next chapters that they were to read. Part of the program involves trivia questions. These were asked over the PA each morning by Mrs. Dingman. It has developed a set of questions for each chapter of each book that is included in their program. When we received the questions as a staff, the team looked at them and went, I think we really want to rewrite these questions. They don't seem to have a lot of depth or meaning. The questions to us seemed a little superficial. We call them right there questions and right there answers. So I took it upon myself to call the director of the program, One School, One Book, to ask them, did they have deeper questions with deeper meanings? And he explained to me that there was a real reason that the questions were right there questions. They were designed to maintain interest, that they would be questions that no matter who read that story, students would be able to answer, and so would parents. They would be able to find the answers. They said that the real purpose was to keep families reading together, not so much delving into deep questions. So, made sense to us, and we went with the questions that were provided.
So each morning during the morning announcements, I would ask 2 questions, and the students would fill out a response slip with their correct answers, hopefully their correct answers and their name. They would put them outside their cubbies in a dog dish, which we would have. We had a feed bowl or a feed bucket for Charlotte's Web, but this year it was a dog dish. So they would put them outside their cubbies, and Mrs. Vandermeulen's class would go around and collect them and put them in order, and then we would ask the questions that day. They would get the answers the next morning, along with few students from each class winning prizes that they could come and pick. So we had just simple prizes, but boy, does that really get them going. There were pencils. For Charlotte's Web, we had gummy pink pigs. We have stickers and stamps, all kinds of prizes. Each of those pictures are just one day. On the left, that's from one day's winners, and on the right, that's one day's winners. And they were just so excited to come down.
So it was very important to our staff that every child would eventually answer correctly and earn a prize by the end of the reading month and by the time they were done with reading the book. So as you know, that was a lot of recording, but it was worth it to us that every child was successful. In fact, it was reiterated to me by a parent who said to me that each day that she picked up her sons, they couldn't wait to get in the car and tell her what the questions were, if they had answered them correctly. And she said the fact that they had received or earned a prize for answering on one day added to their excitement. Parents routinely would say to me that as a family, they would try to predict the questions that Mrs. Dingman was going to ask in the morning. Or they would even discuss it in the car on the way to school. We really knew that this was really the highest form of depth of knowledge, prediction. So students at all levels were able to write an answer on the form and turn it in. Our kindergartners and first graders did a whole lot of inventive writing and spelling and sounding out, and there was lots of encouragement provided by our teaching staff. Sometimes they even reread the passage to the students in the classroom, just so if they knew there were some students that didn't get to read, that they would be able to keep up with the story. To keep the book alive, we went live. This is Charlotte's Web. Wilbur came to school, and he was a courtesy of the Mark Schweihofer family, who lent this little 10-pound piglet and was brought by Mr. Pat Schweihofer to school. And so he delighted us in the lobby one day with his snorting and his snooting and his squealing and his grunting and his thrashing and his throwing around his food bowl. We could hear him throughout the school as he was doing it, and it provided a great incentive to keep reading.
This got students so excited that they would come back to the classrooms and to the media center. They would check out informational textbooks about animals. They would go on PebbleGo, a database that we have, and learn about their habitat. And they were just really excited to learn about the animals they saw or read about in the book.
So, of course, we had Wilbur. We had to have Winn-Dixie. So meet Sandy Jensen. He's a cute little chubby, warm, friendly cockapoo. a member of the Chris Jensen family. She's a first grade teacher at Pine River. This became our mascot for the year, Pine River's own Winn-Dixie.
Some of the things that Sandy would do, Sandy is present at assemblies for us. On Fridays, Sandy would come in. The students love Sandy. Sandy is very calm and would come and let them pet her. Sandy would be a reading buddy for them. Sandy really warms their heart and calms them down on a day maybe where Friday's an exciting day. They just know Sandy's here. We have to be good for Sandy.
If you notice the white tag on Sandy's back, that is an official district ID. Sandy had her picture taken. She has her own ID that she is in compliance and wears to school.
Wouldn't want to go into lockdown. would you?
And she also has her picture taken in, so she's part of our school composite. She truly is. We adopted her as a member of the staff. Talk about keeping a book alive. Sandy keeps the book Winn-Dixie alive for us. So then, of course, March is Reading Month, a favorite time for all of us. We decided to keep with the theme, Get Caught Reading. And we have the challenge. The challenge was if they read 2014 books that Mrs. Lammer would kiss a pig.
We had all kinds of activities. We had the farm come. This year, we have a challenge as well for you, Mrs. Lemmer, and you know that. Students really work hard for the challenge. This year, are you ready? If we read over 2015 books, Mrs. Lemmer will spend a day working in the dog house. Mrs. Lemmer, get ready. You're going to be in the dog house.
How many books have we read
Over
so far?
1,700. And they're going fast, yes.
Okay. I will take visitors to my dog house in the lobby on March 27th. So, again, Winn-Dixie, keeping the book alive. In the book and in the movie, they have a party. It's really a coming together and making connections for each other. Pine River wanted to have a party too. In the party, they have special food. They had egg salad sandwiches, dump punch, pickles, and Listmas lozenges. We wanted to have our own Pine River celebration. And again, connecting on all those themes of because of Winn-Dixie. We had our own Winn-Dixie, we needed an Otis, and we needed a Gloria Dump for our celebration, and we were ready to go. And so, in November, the end of reading the story, Pine River had their own Winn-Dixie party. I contacted Julie from Chartwells and said, we need egg salad sandwiches cut into triangles. We need jelly sandwiches cut into triangles. We need pickles. She said, pickles? Pickles. We need butterscotch lozenges, and we need some lemonade. It became a time for the whole school to come together as a school community. The idea was there was no order, which gave great order. Kids decided where they wanted to sit. They decided who they wanted to be with. They were anxious, as you see the little guy with the pickle, to eat the pickle before the time was even, the party even started. Teachers were involved, students were involved in handing out the food. They had little buckets of, little containers of food that they sat right on the floor and they ate together. They connected with siblings, and you'll see some siblings there together. They connected with friends, old friends and new friends. There were groups of friends sitting around all together, 5 or 6 of them, different grade levels. My heart was just melting at this wonderful party that just showed great connections of the Pine River students together.
We have wonderful volunteers in East China School District. One of our very own Otis was Mr. Eric Lenarski, who is a wonderful musician. He's East China parent. He was a former Pine River parent, and he came and he was our Otis for the day. And he had the students feel good, just like he had the animals feel good.
And of course, we had our own Gloria Dump. She came from the Humane Society with her rescue dog, Lady, and spent the time at our party also. She was supposed to go around to all the students so they could pet her, but she kept rolling over and getting her belly rubbed. So the big question is, how do you measure if a program is successful. We thought we were successful. We didn't have raw data. Maybe next year we'll do some surveys of parents and we'll get some percentages. We went on more emotional data. How do you measure success? You know you're successful when a student comes up to you and says, Mrs. Lammer, this is so much fun. Can we do it again next year? You know you are successful when a parent emails you, even though we read to the boys every night, this school activity gave reading a special meaning. It really did make them feel a part of something bigger, a part of a school community. What a wonderful way to spread the joy of reading with families. Thank you for this opportunity to share this special story and experience with my boys. I hope you do it again next year. And the last one, you know you are successful when a student bounds into the building with her book clutched in her hand, looking for Mrs. Lammer, searching, yelling, Mrs. Lammer, where is she? I have to talk to her. I thought something was wrong. I went to her and said, was something wrong? Are you okay? And she said, a terrible thing happened last night. Charlotte died. You know, kids are connected and they are engaged when they get that emotional about reading with their parent that they want to seek out the next day and let you know what happened. This says it all. That's the way students have felt about the last two books. It's been fun. And going back to the beginning, I believe we've accomplished at Pine River what we set out to do, to bring literacy to our families.
Just to let you know, there is a one district, one book, so we have information if we're ever interested in that as well.
A lofty goal we have. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you. And we are doing it again next year.
Do you have
correct?
some questions? Yes, we are. We're already searching for the next book. They have wonderful books, and they're continually adding new books to their program. And we know that we've paid that $500, so we are good to go, and we can do this for as long as we choose. We do it in October, right at the beginning of the school year. Kind of kicks off the year, keeps us together, and it's a great program. Do you have any questions?
You only have to pay that $500 one time? You don't
Yes.
have to pay it each year?
Right. They call it a donation to the
A don-
program.
Oh, yeah, a donate, okay.
Yes.
And then your PTO is underwriting the cost of the books each year then?
Yes. They, anywhere from $1,800 to $2,000, depending on the price of the book. We purchase about 380 books. We've purchased 380 to 400 so that we have extra books in case a family loses them. We don't ever want a family not to read or not to have a book, so we give them an extra book. Some children have asked for their very own copy. You know, we have a copy at home, but I want my own copy, and so we give them a copy. An interesting thing just happened, and I know I've gone over my minutes, but I was in California over Christmas in Los Angeles and met up with the special ed teacher in Los Angeles and was telling her about what we do in our school. And she said to me, do you have any extra books? I have a special ed classroom. I'm in Los Angeles in a very poor part and I have no money. And it was like, I'm going to check out our books and we're going to send it on away and we'll send some East China reading out to Los Angeles.
That's
So,
awesome. That's great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Approval of minutes, Special Board of Education meeting February 19th, 2015. Regular Board of Education meeting February 23rd, 2015. Special Board of Education meeting March 3rd, 2015. Special Disciplinary Board of Education meeting March 3rd. Approval of payment of bills. Financial statement. Schedule of investments. Approve Jim Bewer's position to MC Scholarship Foundation Board of Directors for 4 years. Autism resolution. Motion is needed.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support. Mrs. Murphy? Comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried. We now have a resolution, and I would like to ask Tia Reka to come up to the podium.
Alrighty. Here I go. I'm short. Okay. Hello, my name is Tia Reka from Marine City. In 2007, the United Nations adopted April 2nd as World Autism Awareness Day. Lighting it up blue is a unique global event that kicks off autism awareness through the month of April. Many iconic landmarks, hotels, sporting venues, museums, bridges, and hundreds of thousands of retail businesses, homes, and communities take part to light it up blue. I would like to request that the East China School District also participate by wearing blue on April 2nd to show support and understanding of autism. Wear blue!
Our resolution, whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a range of complex neurodevelopment disorders affecting an estimated 3.5 million Americans. And whereas Thursday, April 2nd, has been established as World Autism Awareness Day. And whereas communities across the country and world will light it up blue in support of autism awareness on that date. And whereas Marine City resident Tia Reka has been a tireless advocate for helping educate all those that she comes into contact with about living with autism. Therefore, be it resolved that the East China School District supports autism awareness by recognizing Thursday, April 2nd as Autism Awareness Day within the school district, and encourages all students and employees to wear blue on Thursday, April 2nd in support of those individuals and families impacted by autism. And lastly, express its gratitude to Ms. Reka for her dedication and effort to bring awareness to this cause. Signed on the 23rd day of March 2015, the East China School Board of Education. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Oh my gosh, this is amazing, everybody. Phenomenal. Thank you.
And if you don't wear blue, shame on you.
That's right, me and Tia will be out taking pictures.
Next item on our agenda is recognition of persons wishing to address the board. Receive any cards? No. Okay. We'll move on. Our next presentation is our addendum to our agenda. Mr. Eric Longuski.
Mr. Youre, members of the board, and Dr. Skalka, thank you for allowing my request to be heard today. I do appreciate that. I think this is loaded up, and I want to explain exactly why I did decide to come today. I really didn't want to be honest. I had, wanted to sit back there and do nothing, but a couple things have come up, and quotes like this. When the teacher contract is up in 2016, I propose we cut the total compensation by 3% to 6%, by Alan Richley. There's another quote by Alan about having a long-term plan to balance the budget at the district. And multiple times in the last several months, it seems like the teachers in the district have been in the crosshairs because of comments by Trustee Richley and opinion articles in the paper, whether it be Facebook, posting on city websites. And it seems like I'm doing this quite often, having to do damage control for what this young man's been saying for the last several years. And today is no exception, but I'm going to try to turn that a little bit more positive way and make it more educational. But at the same time, I must say that it can't go on. I don't think you mean to embarrass a district like you do. I don't think you mean to harm our reputation like you do, but you honestly I don't think you mean that, but it happens. I've never seen in 20 years being in this district somebody cause more chaos and more people have to do more work than we have in the last several years. And it's inexcusable and it's got to stop. And let me explain what I'm talking about here today. And don't take it the wrong way. I don't dislike you. I think that you're trying. But I think that what you say, without thinking it through carefully, causes huge problems. These people out here are wonderful people. Think about what you're saying when you say it about them. It isn't right. So let me explain where I'm going with this. That button right there on our website doesn't tell the story either. It's one more ploy by, I guess, the state legislature to make us look worse than we are. I mean, put, again, educators in the crosshairs so they can see exactly what you make. It's been there ever since the law was passed a few years back. Now, to go through the changes, teacher compensation, I have several slides here, and since Mrs. Lammer didn't have a time limit, I'll do the best I can to stay within my time limit. But I must say, and to not keep spinning it negative, it's going to get there real quick. But every time I come to these meetings, there's always some school that's always full of teachers, whether it be sports and they're doing their presentation, whether it be a school in the spotlight and the great things they do, these wonderful people that I work with all the time. And that's the thing that bothers me the most. They're fantastic people. They're the best people, and I'll prove it to you in a little while. And so, Pine River, nice job. That's awesome. Okay, Tia, congratulations. So, but to go through, I had to kind of make an assumption here, and I want to talk about the average financial situation of a teacher in the district. And it's hard to go average, so I apologize. I'm not trying to mislead you in any way, shape, or form. I wanted to go with the best I could, and if I'm wrong, it is definitely not an attempt to mislead anybody. This amount that I chose to go with was $71,000, as this was a number that was posted in the paper a little while ago in some opinion piece. As additional information, this teacher, this average teacher, has gone to college 5 years to obtain a bachelor's degree, and they have completed 2 more years of college to obtain a master's degree, at considerable expense, I must add. In addition, this teacher has a family, has health insurance through the school district, and has been teaching for about 15 to 22 years. And again, I'm making approximations here. I've highlighted all the changes to employee compensation since the 2009-2010 school year, the last time teachers saw any kind of a pay raise. The first thing that hit us was the state retiree health care changes. And in 2010, the government chose to impose a 3% tax on public school employees' compensation to pay for a health care fund. And to be open also about this, that applies to the fine administrators that we have in this district. The other employees, bus drivers, custodians, and parapros that draw a check through the school. So it's not just us, but it affects them also, and I'd be remiss not to mention that. But my point here, again, is to represent my members. In 2012, the stated purpose was changed and renamed, but it still remained a 3% hit to employee pay. So if you figure this out in black and white, a 3% reduction on a $71,000 salary in 2010-11 was $2,130. Again, $2,130. Again, $2,130. In 2013 and 2014, it went down because there are 2 days without pay, so we actually paid less. And 14-15, again, $2,107 for a grand total, the hit to employees' compensation of $10,604. And again, I put the 4 there even though I'm rounding off numbers. It didn't look right to not add it properly. So again, I lowered that amount. Retirement reform. Our state government came through again with a great idea. Basic explanation in order for an employee to maintain the same retirement multiplier, the 1.5% they've always had. The employee must now contribute 3% more of their pay to the Office of Retirement Services. You get the exact same thing you had before. But as opposed to cutting the schools, they kind of came at us in different angles. They came directly after the employee and still cut the compensation, the per pupil funding they give to the district. And so they took it directly from us, 3% more. Again, in black and white, 2012 and 13, it was a mid-year implementation, so it was $1,598, give or take $100, okay? In 13 and 14, it was $2,107, and then in 14-15, it was $2,107 again, for a grand total of $5,812 on that average income for a teacher. And again, I had to lower that because of the furlough days. Healthcare premium contribution. In 2005, we agreed to a contract in which we would help contribute to our healthcare cost in the way of a premium contribution. Not going all the way back to the beginning, but back to 2010-11, we started donating, started paying towards that premium $728. In 2011, 2012, we paid $1,000. 12-13 was $1,500, and then it jumped considerably in the 13-14 school year to $2,942, 14-15 to $3,235. Lost income to a teacher, $9,405. And I feel bad doing this because many people here have never seen these numbers before. I've never went out of my way to show them this because it's so sad, but so I apologize, guys. You showed up for this. Healthcare deductible. In 2010, 2011, members of the East China Education Association began paying a deductible on their insurance before insurance benefits applied. The cost of the deductible, okay, regardless of your salary, stays the same. In 2010 was the first time it hit us, $200, $400, and that means $200 per an individual or a two-person and $400 on a family. I didn't count those numbers because we could actually delay that and it would apply to the next year, so it's not factored in my overall totals. In 2011, it was $500 and $1,000, again, $1,000 for the family. 2012 the same, 2013 the same. 2014 it jumped considerably to the $1,200, $1,250 and $2,500, and it jumped again this year, according to state law, and like I said, they get you in all different directions, to, oh, actually it's federal law, $1,300 and $2,600. And if you are a family on a health care plan, you lost $8,500 if you indeed met your deductible. I surveyed our members, so I would know how many met their deductibles, and you have to do it kind of, you know, you can't be too intrusive on medical information, but well over half, knocking on 70-80% of our members meet the deductible. The problem is those that didn't all told me, I didn't go to the doctor, I don't get that prescription, we avoided it, which is even worse, because they don't want to meet the deductible. It's money out of their pocket straight up. So they didn't take advantage of their insurance at all, and they're still paying towards that premium. It's something we have to be aware of. It isn't a good situation for our district. Like I said, I did not include that first line, 2010. Days without pay. You want to call them furlough days, it sounds better, but basically you're working, you're not getting paid to work. You don't have to show up, I suppose, but as teachers, we work all the time when we don't have to. The impact of unpaid days in the employee based on the salary of $71,000 was $776 a day. And again, depending on what you make, that number changes, but I again chose the average. Grand total of $1,552. Longevity pay was something that used to be enjoyed around Christmas time. Every person in the district who had 15 years or more, no longer was stepping on the scale, was given longevity pay. That applied to everybody with 15 plus years on a sliding scale. When you do this, it's kind of odd, and this is one I had to make the most assumption on, because $71,000 puts you kind of in a weird spot. But longevity is a percent basis. It's a 0.75% longevity for 15 to 20 year people. It was 1% for people from 20 to 25 years, and it was 1.25% for those over 25 years of service to the district. So you're looking at between $533 and $710 per year. If you had the max over 25 years, your number was around $800 or $900. 11 and 12 and 12, 13, I put in $300 because the highest level of longevity wasn't suspended. So the average, it wasn't fair to keep it high. 13 and 14 and 14 and 15, I chose an average number, which is really quite low, but I didn't want to over-exaggerate. Lost income due to this, $1,800. And so my notations are down there. In total, when you combine them all together, from 2010-11 till the current date, the 3% reduction for the state health care tax, $10,000. 3% for the retirement multiplier, $5,800. Health care premium contribution of $9,400. Health care deductible, $8,500. 2 days worked without pay for 2 years, $1,552. Loss of longevity pay about $1,800. Total lost income from 2010 to 2015, teachers realized $37,673 less, give or take a wild swing of a couple grand at least, okay, depending on where you're at. Like I said, I did my very best to come up with a fair number, and if I'm off, I sincerely apologize. I'm not trying to mislead anybody. You don't have to. What is a single year impact? Look at just 2013, 2014, 2015. Just this year alone, the 3% will cost you $2,107 because that's reduced because of the furlough days. $2,107 to keep your retirement multiplier as it was before. Healthcare premium, I subtracted off the original $728 that we paid prior to 2010, so the number's an increase, not counting it twice. So I reduced it a little bit. Cost of healthcare, $2,600 this year. 2 days without pay, $776. Loss of longevity pay, $600. Loss of steps, I have a sample made up with the person who's on the steps in this district, and when they were hired in, and the promise of pay that they were given, the assumption that's always made, that's always held true throughout teaching times, those people, because of loss of steps, the number's staggering. But I have that made up. I have a teacher worked on that for me. And I can provide that to the board if you would like that. I'll provide this to you also. You start throwing in that amount that they've lost and they'll lose for many years to come, I wouldn't do it. I can't do it. Total lost income in 1 year on that average teacher, $10,697. When I wonder why the checkbook doesn't look so good anymore, it's pretty obvious. That's a staggering amount of money this year alone the employees have had taken from them, from the state, from the school, every angle imaginable. That's a 15.1% reduction in pay. That's straight up honest. There's not a thing in that thing that I would not debate with anybody. I'll stand behind every number there, and if I made a mistake, it's an honest mistake. So, what is my point with this? That's why I'm here. That kind of makes my point. Prior I showed you. But we cannot keep going to the employees to make up the budget deficit. We can't make statements in the paper. That the teaching staff, or the administrators, or the custodians, or the bus drivers have not given considerable amount of money back to the district or to the state. Basically, wherever it went, it's out of their pocket. Teachers have bills to pay. It is not their job to fund East China schools. We've been quiet for years. We've done what we can do. It cannot be bounced on their backs. And that makes your job horrible. It makes it, what are you going to do then if you can't take it from us? It's so easy to just say, right there, divide it by this, and it's all taken care of. It can't continue. And I'll show you why I mean this. We have had, not sure, the best pay scale around. We had, we'll get it back, the best reputation in the area, bar none. I guarantee it, and I can prove this. It's taken quite a hit in the last few years, as I alluded to earlier. I won't go into it again. Hope I don't have to again either. Our pay scale is there. Yes, I don't apologize one time for relocating to East China. I was one of 85 teachers that came from some other district, out of the 237 we have, that came to this school with experience somewhere else. These people came here, a bunch of these people sitting right here, because of East China's reputation. They brought with them all that experience, and that concerns me. Will we continue to bring in those kinds of people, the people that are out there doing great things, if this keeps going like it is? This ability to choose from the best available teachers. You think about it, 85 of us, me included, so you didn't win every single time, obviously, but most of the time, okay, 84, 85 is not bad, okay? But the thing is, you chose from the best there were. If you didn't choose the veteran, you chose the people that were rookies, straight out of college. The kid that competed with a veteran, because there probably was a veteran who applied for the same job, and you got them. East China pulled from everybody. And I know, teachers there, okay? Teachers here, we know. We're not being arrogant, but you know what? Sometimes you got to beat your own drum. This district is great. We do great things, and we have the best here. My friends in Marysville think that I'm just being kind of arrogant. So what? East China's the best. I'm sorry, okay? You look at what we did with this, the best of the best, and I'm going to make a mistake here, and I apologize ahead of time, because I'm going to miss something. I'm going to miss somebody's great thing they've done, like Pine River just did today. We have high college attendance rates, number 1, number 2 in the county, great test scores, elementary reward schools. Athletic success, you can't match it in a public school. They play here because they want to. We don't buy them to come in. Incredible fine arts programs. From our music programs in the elementary to the drama, to the band, the choir, it's amazing what we have here and the time these people put in to their programs. Science Olympiad, mock trials, student council, robotics, and again, that's where I screwed up because I'm sure I missed something there. The last thing right there, and I know I'm going on a long time, but I'm sorry. Incredible mentors for our children. You guys, my own daughter got involved in an incident last week. No less than 6 teachers took the time to talk to my daughter. They taught her what was right. They gave her advice. They coached her up. They sent her home a better person. I teach in Marine City. I know what they're like. St. Clair High School did the same thing for my kid, not because she was my kid, because she was a kid. They're the best people out there. And that's obviously at Pine River. All these other schools, same thing. We have the best. We can't lose that. We have to find a way. You know what? To be honest, seriously, guys, I mean, you're just top notch. I mean, and that goes for the administrative team too, for the principals. I mean, we're good people here. We are. The secretary, parapros, the whole bit. But so you come today, and I throw it out there. So what do we do about the budget? I don't like when someone comes to me with a problem, and that's it. I don't want a problem. I want a problem, and I want a solution. I don't have the whole solution, but we have some ideas for you. I asked our members, what do you see? What ideas do you have? We have a list. I'll email it to you after the meeting today. It's a big list. Some are doable. Some may not be. Some may be hurtful. Some may be horrible. But that's for you to decide. We threw everything out there, okay? And so we'll send that list your way, and you can look at that. The second thing we must do, we must get politically active. I can't stress this enough. You guys know my contempt for Phil Pavlo. I don't dislike the man as a person. I'm not sure I can say that. It's hard to separate it. He's done things to our schools. It's not right. This one right here, St. Patrick's Day, editorial in the paper. They switched money out from a school aid fund and just pushed it into the general fund. They robbed us. 3% was transferred out. But we didn't say a word about that. We can't have that. We have to stop being the whipping post and just taking it. That's why I'm here today. I've had enough. I don't care. This is a text that Phil and I exchanged early this fall. As he pulled into my mom's house in Peck to knock on her door, I was in her driveway. He was stunned. And he mentioned to me that East China employees' wages have increased by 44% in the last 8 years. If you look at the middle of that text, I took a screenshot so I'd never lose it. And I said, 44%, Phil, and my brother's right there, my mom's right there, and we're all like, they all know I'm not making any more money than I was. So I asked him again on this text. He said, no, not average teacher, overall salaries, huge difference. If that's the leader of my area, you cannot take this kind of example and say that that's the truth. I don't know how you can twist the numbers to make that possible, but it's a definite twist. Nobody in this district is making more money than they were. And if he comes up with a stat like that, that's the guy in charge making our decisions. These kind of things cannot be left unaddressed. That's right there. It's from him. We have that proposal coming up in May 5th, I believe, right? Yeah. Do we support this? I don't know how we can. Can we be political at our website? Can we push it? We have to. So you get in trouble. The website police come by and say, hey, you're pushing a yes vote. I don't know what we can do. We have to do something. We have to survive on this. I think we have to do this a little bit better, more political. Website updates, not Facebook updates, but official website updates of our district, encouraging people and informing them what's going on. Folks, you're taking it again. Your schools are being robbed. It has to be there. Who is going to question you? County board meetings, let's have East China start rolling it. Let's be in charge. When we have someone go up to this ISD, let's start rattling the cage. If they all got together instead of everybody being scared, Phil is going to come after us. Lauer is going to come after us. Governor Snyder is going to come after us. Somebody's got to say, you know what, we're done. How much more can you take? Statewide school board meetings, I really meant conferences and so on. Those do happen. They're a great thing for you to go to. Get the ball rolling. You're in as bad a spot as we are, but you have to take and get the word out. Letters to parents when appropriate. Superintendents across the state sometimes act on this. Boards act on this. Sometimes we have to do this. The meetings with Dr. Skalk, with the county guys, statewide, someone has to take that meeting and start getting the word out there. You're the man to do that. You've got confidence. You go tell those guys, we can't keep doing this. We've got to start rattling the cage. Somebody's got to take and stick up for our teachers, our administrators, our students, and I think you're the person that can do it. I know you can. My point is this. We are all in this together. And I mean all of us. There's no way we can get out of this. It's the parents that don't have kids in school anymore. It's the homeowners in the district. It's the teachers. It's the people that live and work somewhere else. But if you live in East China, this is all your problem. It's not just their problem. And it's not the problem, and it's going to get worse, for our young teachers. What's going to happen next? Those kids that come in here and are going to replace me hopefully with like in a year, okay, maybe sooner. This kind of stuff will get you fired real quick. But the thing is, the people that come in, they have to have a good rate of pay. You have to bring in the Anthony Murphys, the kids that can take and be a good teacher. They have to work. They have to raise a family. They have to be able to buy things. You can't be a teacher if you can't afford to be a teacher. So everybody is going to have to understand that. And I mean the normal person who doesn't like certain changes. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. I apologize for being so long-winded, but I sincerely believe this, and I hope I don't have to do this again. Thanks.
Mr. Eric Langowski, thank you for your time and presentation, and thank you for asking to be part of our meeting tonight.
Would you like to share that phone number with us again?
Oh, the phone number?
Mm-hmm.
You mean bills?
Yes.
Oh, I can do that too.
Okay.
I'll send the presentation to you all.
Okay.
I'll send the,
All right, thank you.
Next item on our agenda is reports. Superintendent report, Dr. Skalka.
I will definitely come in under those two in terms of time. Not a problem. Kindergarten Roundup, I want to give you an update. We had been talking now for many, many months about Kindergarten Roundup and whether, as we were talking about, is it a blip or trend that we went down to 233 kindergartners this current school year. I am cautiously optimistic as we came back to 203 at Kindergarten Roundup a couple of weeks ago. And let me give my thanks to all those who participated in Kindergarten Roundup. What a wonderful event, as well as just all sorts of positive feedback. And for your kindergarten teachers, you got some fired up, soon-to-be 5-year-olds coming your way. So 203 came to Kindergarten Roundup. If we use the 72% figure that we've been talking about all along, that would bring us to 282, which would bring us back into the normal enrollment that we have seen over the last, let's say, last 5 years, other than last year. The problem, of course, is 282 is still less than what we're graduating as a senior class, but certainly it is encouraging that we had that many come to Kindergarten Roundup. My cautious optimism, though, primarily generates out of our friends out at Palms, where Mr. Domogowski must have just done a bang-up job with him, his staff, and his teachers. They beat the bushes, they got everybody out, and they had 40 for Kindergarten Roundup. Last year they had 12. And they had only 20 students. So 40 in and of itself is a huge thing to celebrate and to be positive about at this point in time. But if we were to apply that 70% figure to Palms, we'd think they'd have 58. I'm pretty confident that they're not going to get 18 more. All right? They might. It might be great, and I would welcome 18 more. I'd welcome 28 more, you know? But I think they had just an outstanding show at Kindergarten Roundup. One of the things we've also been talking about is this, our neighbors to the south and the moves that they're making in reorganization and what that might imply. So we might think that that 40 is the result of a massive inflow of potential choice parents. We actually had 4 non-district students show up. So 36 are resident Palms students. So again, that's pretty positive. If we apply kind of our 70% figure to the rest, because these figures are all consistent, 35 and 37, 40 and 39, so forth, Pine River's back up a bit, all right? My estimate, instead of the 282 for budgeting purposes, will be about 269, all right? And that will be very conservative, which is how we always budget, is conservatively, with the hope that we will have better results and positive results come count day, so that when we do a budget revision, we can maybe do a happy dance. Okay? What it does mean, though, of course, if you take a quick look at sections, Palms, we know, will have an additional kindergarten section from what it had this year. It normally has 2 kindergarten sections. It'll be back to 2. Pine River is a bit problematic at the moment in the fact that if indeed there was 62, 29 is the maximum class size, that makes 58, so we'd be 4 above. And so 3 sections there would mean you'd be having classes of approximately 20 to 21. We certainly would hope that we have more Pine River students come out. We could talk to those folks who have come to Pine, see if they have indicated Pine as their choice, and see if they are actually in-district school of choice folks who might end up being placed at Bell or at Palms or even up at Gearing or Eddy, so as to not get to that 3rd section unless we get considerably more than the 62 there. But let's say that we do have 2 sections at Palms and 3 at Pine River. That means there'd be up to 11 kindergarten sections, or up 2. Again, we've been talking for the last several months about reducing teaching sections by 3. And indeed, if we had 2 additional kindergarten, that was all based on having the same kindergarten enrollment as we had this past year. If that's not the case, if we have 2 more kindergarten sections, then we'd have 1 fewer teaching section potentially rather than 3. But the additional 36 kindergartners right now that we're projecting over the 233 that we had this current year, times their foundation allowance, brings in $273,000. So instead of just having $240,000 in savings and another kindergarten class of 233, we could end up to the good about 353. That's savings and revenue. That still is not eliminating there still would be fewer students in the district, though, and we'd have to account for that. Okay, so cautious optimism, really good news with regard to Kindergarten Roundup. And again, thank you for all that participated. Some news that we have that's been in the paper. The Voice did an outstanding article, gave us some coverage, and so did the Times Herald, is that back on March 3rd, we sold the bonds related to the November ballot proposal for the purchase of buses, as well as we refinanced the balance on the original 1998 bond issue. As a result, all right, we were able to drop the millage rate. So when we campaigned back in November, we thought that we indicated to the community that in that first year, the millage would go from 314 to 319. By doing this, it actually goes down to 3.07. So the positive news here is that we're saving taxpayers over $1.5 million by refinancing those bonds at a lower interest rate. And it also means that we are able to purchase those buses without the use of general fund money and without a tax increase to the public. That, I think, is extremely good news. And I do think it's evidence of the fact that we do work very hard to be good stewards of the public's money. So, strategic plan, and I want to talk specifically tonight about a facility study. We are working towards a strategic plan, as you indicated that you directed us, the administration, to do last month. Specifically, a facility study. And you say, well, wait a minute, we've been looking at facilities for the last however many months. But what we've been looking at it is in the context of closing a building and how to fit students into the remaining buildings. What we haven't been looking at as things like renovations. or any other elements that a facility study would address by someone who actually has the experience to know how to put some costs to these things so that we in turn can then move toward a decision regarding how to move forward with facilities. So what would the elements of a facility study be? Well, why do a facility study, excuse me? Well, first of all, we want to do it to develop a plan because we need general fund relief. All right. Elements would include necessary and recommended renovations to all current school facilities, possible additions to some elementary schools, possible new construction, demolition of unused schools, both present and future. We know that we're having a difficult time finding any interest in the ECEC building, the old St. Clair Middle School. And we're being told by more than one source that the land may be more valuable without a building on it than with a building on it at this point in time. Technology, both the replacement of and acquisition of additional equipment. Again, we were very fortunate that the community supported a technology bond in 2009. That technology is now 6 years old, going on 7. And I don't think anybody's got a 6-year-old phone, potentially, in there. Maybe you do. Any flip phones out there? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. But that's what, we all recognize how technology turns over. And the fact of the matter is, we don't have the general fund availability to do a refresh. And so as part of this facility study, we'll not only get experts in the field of instructional technology to tell us what's transpired over the last 6 years, but how that might be incorporated into an overall facility plan. And as I indicated, projected costs. These are folks who do this for a living, all right? I'm talking specifically about Barton Mallow, who work in the field of school construction and can provide us specific cost estimates for the things that were in this list for us to provide options for the board should the board want to move forward. And I think it's important, as I just indicated with respect to our bus bond and refinancing, we have a relatively low bonded indebtedness, both in comparison to surrounding districts, and we have expiring millages within the next 5 to 6 years. Specifically, bonded indebtedness in the county for the current year looks as this, and all the way from 796 in Marysville down to 2.5 in Port Huron. Ours is going to 3.07 next year, and into the future, we see that 307 is going to continue to drop to the point where we get under 3 mils just 2 years from now. We get under 2 mils 2 more years later. Okay? To eventually, 2025 sounds like a far time out, but if you're less than a mil within the next half dozen years, all right, you have practically no bonded indebtedness. Okay. So to complete the study, Barton Mallow would bring a team to the East China School District to do the work within the next 90 days, with public input and a review by the board as part of a larger district strategic plan. This past February, Barton Mallow helped the Midland Public Schools pass a $120 million ballot proposal. The proposal involved the consolidation, renovation, and demolition of elementary schools within that district, the very things that we're talking about here. So as we have talked in our both elementary school closure and restructuring committee meetings, is where is the expertise? Should we not be looking for expertise outside the district as well as experiences of other districts who've had similar problems? This is an avenue to pursue both of those things. The cost to the district for the completion of the facility study is the commitment to moving forward with a facility plan to provide general fund relief, to take to the community as a ballot proposal. Once this commitment is made, Barton Mallow will continue to provide the district its expertise, that expertise that it used to pass the proposal it did in Midland. If the board chooses not to move forward with a ballot proposal, then we would pay only $3,500 for the completion of the facility audit, which is relatively cheap for the expertise and the time and effort that will be provided to the school district. And again, there is no cost to the district if we move forward with the plan. Strategic plan, in addition to facilities, must include reduced expenditures and increased revenues. Just as we talked about briefly, both of these things this evening, administrative reorganization will generate at least $20,000, in fact, a little bit more than that in savings. And the projected 36 additional kindergartners, though, don't erase our total enrollment decline. It is certainly a positive step, because if we were to have 233 kindergartners again next year, we'd be looking at a loss of, in essence, $273,000 more dollars. So we get to 269, that's a pretty positive step, okay? We are currently putting dollar figures to a list of additional possibilities that we have generated and brainstormed amongst both administrative cabinet and the whole administrative team, and I look forward to the ECEA list, which we will also put dollar figures to. A strategic plan also has to include personnel costs, and collective bargaining with all 5 employee groups are going to be completed over the next 15 months. Whether those costs are savings or they're not, they will involve some kind of change. And so we'll be dealing with that over the next 15 months. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a few. First of all, you answered the question about the cost of the study, but what I don't understand this is the first time I've seen this, so bear with me, but what exactly is the commitment if we move forward with the plan? Like, I don't exactly get where they're going to be getting their money from if we move forward.
If we move forward, we would move forward with an eventual, as you saw back, let's go to this, all right? If a plan included any kind of renovations to any existing buildings or any additions or the demolition of any schools, obviously those are all costs that would have to be gone through a ballot proposal, all right? And so our commitment is the $3,500 unless we go through with a ballot proposal and we go through with a plan. If it does not succeed, it doesn't succeed, but we've tried and they've been supporting us through, and their risk is it not succeeding. They will work very hard to see it succeed, because what they are is a construction management firm in addition to the support in planning facilities. So we would look to potentially contract with them down the road to do the construction management part of it.
That somewhat answers my question, but this doesn't bind us to any
We'd still have to work through
bid.
the bid process.
Okay.
And if the board decided we didn't want to even attempt the bond issue, we said, no, we don't want to go that route, our cost would be $3,500.
Can you go back to, or maybe it's forward, I'm not sure, but to the bonded indebtedness? Oh, right there. The thing that I wanted to really quickly say was, like, people see it and they're like, oh, we have low taxes, but really the reason why it's like that is because we have a higher tax base here because of that.
Well, the other reason we have a lower bonded indebtedness is we have aging facilities. We have not constructed a new school since Pine and Bell, whereas, for example, these other buildings,
St. Clair Middle School.
St. Clair Middle, I'm sorry, you're right, St. Clair Middle. And as a result, that has driven down our bonded indebtedness too.
Right, but I mean, in reality, when you compare it percentage-wise, we're about where we're supposed to be, I'm pretty sure. I mean, the last time, I haven't checked it in like 2 years, but.
But you do need to understand that is the cumulative, what you're referring to is the cumulative property wealth of the district. So if I own a home that has a taxable value of $50,000 in any of these communities. Right? I'm not paying more.
Correct.
I'm paying less.
Correct. But I'm just pointing out we're getting the same amount of money. I mean,
I
that
won't
doesn't
go
hold.
that far. I refuse to go that far in that.
All right. Well, the other thing that I have reservations about spending the $3,500 or to move forward with that without more information, and I mean, because this is the first time I've heard of it, so I mean, I don't at this point I would not commit to.
We got this in the update.
not this.
Yeah,
No, not the Barton Mallow packet, but
you
the
got all this information.
information on the,
Information.
More a week,
On
a
Barton
week ago
Mallow and the-
Monday.
in the
But
proposal.
not the specific stuff. I mean, that's
We didn't have
We didn't
specifics in
either.
the update, no.
This is the first time we've all seen it.
that's not what I was told. So,
No, we haven't seen these slides until tonight.
not the slides, but I mean the idea of this. I mean,
The
I was not
idea,
informed.
the
of it.
idea
was in
of
the
a
board
facility
update.
study was provided to you in the March 13th update.
The last board meeting, we talked about a strategic plan and the need for a strategic plan. We can't really strategically plan without some
Correct.
expertise.
Correct.
That's what I see this being a positive for us.
In essence, you directed the administration to create that plan, and these are the elements that will be going into it.
My understanding was not that we were going to be spending money on an outside source, though. I mean, that's what.
But we may
That's
not be
fine.
spending money.
Well, if we go for a bond.
If we go for a bond and the bond fails, then we pay the $3,500. If the bond passes.
No, if you
That's
choose-
if we don't even go through with
If
the
you
plan.
choose not
If
to
a
go
bond
through
fails,
with a
we still don't
bond,
pay.
then we'll pay for it.
Okay.
The only time we
Sorry.
would pay for it is if we did not choose to go to a bond.
Go to a bond.
proposal At all. Right.
But I think you want to consider just how small that fee is for the expertise that you're getting and for the information that you'll be getting.
When are,
Because we don't have the expertise as board members to do any kind of a facility study, except go around and visit the buildings, and based on what we see and talking to the principals, I mean, we have to have some expertise, and you have to pay for that expertise. And $3,500,
Last time I checked, we have an operations director,
Well,
so,
that's what I
I mean, that's.
that's what I thought too.
well, I think you could
do,
have some
you do,
guidance, though.
But let me, I'll put it to you this way, I guess, and that is, there's conversation regarding the closing of Gearing and moving the students to Eddy. There was a belief that a better proposal might be to go in the other direction by adding on to Gearing and changing over the heating system there, all right? Who would be able to give us the best estimate for renovations and additions to buildings than a construction management firm? Not us here. We're not going to know those kind of things so as to provide you trusted estimates so as to determine whether or not you think it's worthwhile to go to the community and ask for that. Because we certainly aren't going to make that move out of the general fund.
Will this be brought to a board vote, the $3,500, or
It
not?
is under the bid threshold. And
Yes.
it is part of the direction that was given to myself and the administration to develop a strategic plan.
The board did not vote on that, though. That doesn't give you
The board
direction.
did vote to direct the administration to develop a strategic plan. I'm giving you an update tonight on how we're going about doing that.
When do you plan on, when are they plan on starting?
I plan on contacting them tomorrow morning to start the 90-day study.
Any additional comments or questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the information discussion items, audit, RFP.
In your
Dr.
board,
Skilka.
yep, in your board packet, you saw a summary of the bids that were received to do the audit for the school district. This is a discussion item this month for action next month. I will be recommending that based on the bids provided to us, that we remain with McBride and Manley for a couple of reasons. First reason is that they provided us with a 3-year fixed rate rather than having to go back out annually. Secondly, they have included multiple services within their bid that if you had those services provided by the other bidders on an a la carte basis, would actually potentially would put them over the McBride and Manley bid. And finally, they have been auditing the district, and they have familiarity with our financial operation for the last several school years.
I've got a question on the tabulation sheet. In the total number of hours, those are just projected?
Correct. Correct. Sure.
I just wanted to agree with that. Not only are they local, but we've been with them for a while, and also they're the lowest when you look at the per hour or the hourly rate. They're the lowest. So when you put it in that, and I mean, in reality, they kind of know the district a little bit more than the other companies, and if it ended up being more hours, then it would be more expensive. So
Sure.
Just like any business in our communities, they're all invested in our own school district, so I think their heart is in it, just like any other business owner in this community. All right. That'll come to vote
Next month.
next month. Okay. Next item is our Board of Action agenda items. First action, recommended action per administration recommendation. The Board of Education approves a contract renewal with Chartwell's Food Service for the 2015-16 school year. Motion is needed.
I'll move.
Move Mr. Distor.
Support.
Support Mr. Kennegbauer. Comments, questions?
You know, we went out to bid last year for 5 years, but we do have to do this annually within that 5-year bid.
Then we are in our second year. This would
This
be our
is our
second
second year.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
aye.
Motion carried 6-1. Recommended action, per administration recommendation, the Board of Education approves the best practices resolution as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the best practices resolution as presented.
Motion. Support.
Support.
Supported. Comments, questions?
I do have a couple of comments.
Okay.
I went through, and I actually did this last night. I went through each of the actual best practices, like the standards that they expect each district to fulfill. And the ones that we did not, we met 7 of the 9.
Correct.
And, hold on just one second. We did not meet letter F and requirement H. And I'd like to take a moment to read both. To meet requirement F, the school board shall comply with a method of compensation for teachers and school administrators that includes job performance and accomplishments as a significant factor in determining compensation as required under Section 1250 of the Revised School Code, MCL 380.1250. Districts should consult with their legal counsel to determine the district's compliance with this requirement, which obviously I believe is through contract negotiations and that sort of thing. So I mean, it's not something we can change now, but to meet requirement H, the school board shall implement a comprehensive guidance and counseling program. An example of one may be found here, and then there's a link that I clicked on. And what I wanted to know is if there's a way that by maybe the next board meeting or something, we can have like a plan as to how we could fulfill this requirement H.
Or why we do not presently, because
Correct.
to do so,
Costs, probably.
there would be added costs as well as other issues regarding just the staffing and implementation of the program.
Okay, and I had a couple of questions from people in the community that were asking about that, and then I also searched up, there's about approximately, there's either a little bit more or a little bit less than 200 districts that already passed their resolution for it, and I saw most of them also had the same problem, that they couldn't meet those as well. So, but the other thing that I wanted to clarify, I had a couple people ask me about this, so I wanted to clarify it. And misinformation has been put out there by some people that are in the union, so I wanted to make sure that I, well, no, I mean, not just the teachers union. I'm not talking, but it's.
Why do we even
But-
go there?
Okay, now, under, this would be requirement B, the district has obtained a competitive bid on non-instructional services pursuant to section 22F and then 1B. That would be, and then for us, we actually did transportation services, custodial services, grounds, and snow removal service. And the thing is that people don't understand is you don't have to go with the lowest bidder. So that's what I wanted to clarify.
Nor do you have to accept any bid. You just have to go out for bids.
Correct.
No more comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried. Item C, per administration recommendation, the Board of Education approves the turf bid to the following companies: Foresight Design for the design work in the amount of $27,000, S&H Trucking and Excavating for the site work in the amount of $208,900, and AstroTurf for the turf installation in the amount of $308,638. Motion needed.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Frank,
Support.
support by Mrs. Bebout. Comments or questions?
I'd like to make two clarifications, if I would. The recommended action says the excavating and site work in the amount of $208,900. The actual site work is $66,900. The remaining portion of that is to the same firm, but they are providing the padding that we talked about previously. And so that is, that's the difference in that. And then secondly, want to share and to remind everyone again, because we do talk about our deficit, is that this is being paid out of the sinking fund, which is a fund specifically set up for and voter approved for facility maintenance, I guess is the best way of saying it. And our stadium is certainly one of our facilities.
Can you talk us through just a little bit what's included in the design work for $27,000?
That has been taking us through the entire bid process with the different firms, putting together the RFP with all the the request for proposal with all of the specifications as well as alternates, all the way through construction oversight.
So they're, okay.
Through the end of the project.
This will be like a general contract.
It's very similar, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Richter.
Am I correct in saying that this is under budget as to what we were predicting it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And the other question that I had was, am I correct in saying that we added this 2 years ago to the budget?
It's not so much a budget as we have a sinking fund plan, and we put together when I came in that July of 20 months ago, Daryl Downbrow, who was the facilities operations director, and myself put together a 3 year plan for the sinking fund, because we knew we had the work to do at both Pine and Bell River, the lintel work, the doorway work, and so everything in that plan is below the amount that we receive on an annual basis. So if you want to say under budget, absolutely. And we maintained each of those years, those 3 main projects and a little bit extra in case something happened. Like last summer, when we discovered the roof of Marine City Middle School separating from the walls, and there was large cracks. And so we got that work done last summer in addition. That was an unplanned project in the sinking fund, but a necessary one, and that's why we usually leave some monies left over.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The end of our board action items. Next item on the agenda is the closed session for the purpose of discussing negotiations. Recommended action that the Board of Education goes into closed session pursuant to Act 8C of the Open Meetings Act, Act 267 of 1976, that being for board discussion connected with the negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement. I will take a roll call vote. Mrs. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Frank?
Yes.
Mrs. Bebop?
Yes.
Mr. Kennegbauer?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Richley?
Yes.
Mr. Disroy? Yeah.
Did we move and second that before we voted? Did you get a sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Support.
Mr. Kennegbauer moved, supported by Mr. Richley. Everyone voted aye.
I did.
We did?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't write it down, so.
You're too quiet.
Just for the audience, the final item on our agenda when we come back is items for next board meeting, Winter Athletic Awards. That we will then be closed and
Why didn't
adjourned.
we put that before?
Thank you for coming.